Playwright Fixtures is very useful and a kind of confusing tool at the same time. So if you are a beginner and looking through this documentation, it quickly become like overwhelming. What is it for, how to use it, and so on. So if you feel the same, stick with me. I will show you how exactly to use Fixtures. For this demo, we will use a very simple demonstration and project without running Playwright tests at all. We just print different messages to the console using Playwright framework, and that way you will understand how the fixtures work. So we have a before each and two tests. Hello world, where is my candy, and I am alive. And before each is a hook that executed before every test. So if I run this, we see hello world, where is my candy? Or if I run the second test, hello world, I am alive. Why I'm showing this to you? Because test fixtures is exactly the same thing. Test fixtures is a kind of function in the Playwright that can run some code for you before test or after test. But it has some other cool features which make the functionality a little bit better than just before each hooks. So let's start with a simple example and refactor the existing code with the fixtures, replacing before each hook with the fixture. So I create a new file and I call it, let's say, fixture.ts. And you can call the fixture file however you want, and you can put it in any folder wherever it makes sense in your project. I will need the initial import of the test function into this fixture. And then I want to import it not as a test, as a default name for this function. I want to import under the different name. And for example, I call it import test as base. Now this base object has a method called extend. And with the extend object inside over here, I can create my fixtures. So that's the syntax. The fixture syntax is this one. First, you start with the fixture name. For example, hello world, something like this, put colon, and then after that you have a synchronous function like this, and inside of this function will be a body of your fixture. Fixture also requires two arguments inside. First will be the object. It should be either empty object or any other fixtures that you can provide as the argument into the existing fixture. So far we don't have anything, so it will be an empty object, and the second will be a use. So what is use? Use is a type of object in the Playwright that kind of conveys the context into the test, something like this. I don't know how to explain it better, but don't think about it too much. All you have to know that use absolutely have to be in the middle of the fixture. It will be a wait, and I will call the use. So we have a few squigglies here and there. So let's fix it. It's just the TypeScript complaining on the types. I will create a new type, which I call, for example, my fixture, something like this, and we'll take my fixture name, put it right here, and assign any type. Just for this demo, I will assign a dummy type any. It doesn't mean anything. And then we need to put these types over here into the extent right here. I take my fixture and put it over here. Boom, everything is fixed. Now let's look into the body of the fixture. Remember, I mentioned that fixture behave the same way as a hooks, like before hook or after hook. So here's the catch here. Everything that you put before the use block over here in line number 10 will be executed before the test where you call this fixture. Everything what you put in the line after the use block, in our example it's line 12, will be executed after the test where you call the fixture. So let's grab this console log text from here and put it over here above the await use. So this will be executed before the test. Now, how to use this fixture? We need to return or export modified based test function, and I type export const test equals to and assign the value back. So we took the test function, imported as based, modified it or kind of improved it with a hello world fixture, and then exporting this function back with the same name test from the fixture.ts. Now to use this updated or supercharged test function, we need just to import it right here, but not from the Playwright test. We need to import it from the fixture.ts. And I'm replacing this import with fixture.ts like this. And we can safely remove this before each now. So we're importing test function from the fixture that already have our fixture. And now we call this fixture over here like you normally call in the Playwright test. And this is a hello world. Here we go. This is our fixture. And let's try to run it. So I'm running this and look, hello world, where is my candy? If I put the same fixture into this test, it will do exactly the same thing. Hello world, I am alive. So our fixtures is working successfully. Now let me put some also dummy text at the end of the use block. For example, right here, console log, and instead of hello world, I will say goodbye like this. And if I run the test again, we see 3 messages right now. Hello world, where is my candy, and goodbye. So you see the order of execution is the following. First, we executed the console log hello world, then the text from the test was executed, and then the fixture completed the step goodbye. This is how fixture works. All right, moving on. This was the simplest example possible. Now let's say that here is not just a dummy console log, it's something more useful, like function that return any result for you, and you want to use this result inside of your test. How to use it? So for that, let's say we will create a new constant. Again, it's just a demo using the simple value so you understand the process. Const, let's say my world, something like this, and we will assign the value hello world over here. And I will remove this console log. We don't need it. And now if I want to return any value from the fixture into the test, I need to get this context and pass is as argument into the use block like this. And this my world, it can be anything. It can be just a primitive, it can be an object, it can be instance of the class, it can be result of execution of the function. It literally can be anything. Whatever you need inside of your test, you can pass as the arguments inside of the use. And now over here, so we call the hello world fixture, but we don't use it. We can type like this, console.log, and I call the fixture hello world directly inside of the test. Because when I call it, it will return me the result that I created right here inside of the body of the function. So I'm running this test one more time. Look, I have exactly the same result. If I will change the places like this, running this, and I have a different order. Where is my candy and hello world? Because right now we drive the execution not by the order of execution inside of the fixture. So fixture still initially returns us this value into the test, but we call this value later in the test after the text, where is my candy? That's why we have this order of execution. So I hope everything is good so far, everything is clear, and we are moving on. So let me close this. And let's create a second fixture. So since the fixtures is the object of the key and value pairs, we will separate all the fixtures inside of this object by just a comma. So I put the comma and then I create the next fixture. Let's say I will create the fixture great day, something like this, async, and I will use exactly the same syntax as before. This is my function, and I will need these two required arguments, and I will add my great day over here to fix the typing issues, and I will need this use block as required thing, and I will remove it. In Playwright, you can also create dependencies between the fixtures. So one fixture can call another fixture. And great day, let's say that great day will call a hello world fixture for us. And to do that, I will take the hello world fixture and pass it over here as the argument. And now I can use it. And let's say I create a new constant. Let's call it my day equals to hello world. And let's concatenate some text. What a great day. Like this. And then I want to use this my day inside over here in my day, going back to the test, and let's say this hello world I will now replace with a different fixture, great day, and I will read this fixture here in the console log. So let's run it, let's see what's going to happen. Running the test, hello world, what a great day. So the great day fixture called the hello world fixture, let me make it bigger, great day fixture called hello world fixture, got this result into the great day fixture, pass it down into our test over here, and now we can use this value. And look, for example, if I will put back console console.log goodbye over here and run it one more time. And look, hello world, what a great day, goodbye. So the order of execution is this one. First, the hello world executed this part. Then it's executed this text, hello world plus this text. It passed this into the test. The test executed this line, and then it was cascading down to the fixture again. First executed after step for the great day, and then executed after step for the hello world. So that's how you can create a dependency. And by the way, you can pass as many fixtures into your fixture as you want. So currently we were using our custom fixture, but we can take, for example, Playwright page fixture. And for the IntelliSense to work, I think I need to replace it with a string or something more meaningful, not any. So string, does it work? Yeah, now it's recognized. And now you can call, like, you know, standard Playwright page dot go to some page, whatever, right? So navigate to element. Or you can call, for example, request fixture and send some API calls inside of the custom fixture. For example, make a GET request to some API, for example. You can combine several fixtures inside of the single fixture. I think you see where it's going, right? So you can use these combinations for a bunch of other things, actually. Let me show you one last and very useful example about the fixtures called worker scoped fixture. So first of all, what is worker? Worker in the Playwright, think about it as a single executor of your test. So when you run your test in parallel, Playwright triggers several workers to execute your tests in parallel. And separating your test by the worker scope is very useful to avoid different concurrency issues inside of the test. For example, when you trying to use the same account, you may have problems during the test execution because the same account may stumble on the same test data inside of the test, making your test flaky. But using a worker scope fixtures, you can separate different test accounts into different parallel threads, and that way to avoid the concurrency issues during the test execution. So let me show you how worker scope fixture works. So I will create a new fixture, and let me call it, for example, cup of coffee, like this. And the same syntax, I call async, then I have my function like this. And since the cup of coffee will be, you know what, let me make it a little bit like this. So before I modify it, let me keep it a function like this. And cup of coffee will be our worker fixture. And for worker fixture, we need to create a different type. So type worker fixture like this. And cup of coffee, I put it over here, and type of, let's make it string as well, type of string. Then worker fixture type we need to add as the second argument in the types of the extent, like this. And here one little detail. So after you created this function, you need to wrap it into the array like this. Oh my gosh, who created this syntax? Put the comma, and the second argument will be a scope, and the type is worker. Here we go. Now finally compiled everything. Now we have a worker scope fixture. Worker scope fixture has the same kind of feature. You can use a use block the same way. Everything you put before the use will be executed before the test. Everything after the use will be executed after the test. And let's create a new constant over here. For example, const, let's call it cup, and let's call it the cup of coffee number space. Worker scope fixture has a third parameter you can pass, is about the worker info. So the first argument is empty, the second one is use, and the third one is worker info. Then I can call this worker info and concatenate to our text worker info dot worker index. Here we go. And then I take my cup and add it right here. And yeah, this fixture is ready. Now let's use it, and I will show you this in action. And let me add a second fixture to the test, which is cup of coffee over here. And I add the second fixture, cup of coffee, over there in the test. And now I will run both of these tests in parallel, and you will see what's gonna happen. So terminal, new terminal, npx playwright test, and running the test. 2 tests passed, and let's see the results. Okay, it's printed the results, but I forgot to use the worker fixture in the test. So let me fix it real quick. I will put it over here, cup of coffee, and I will put it also over here. So both tests are calling the same fixture, but it will return us a different result. So let me try it one more time. How about now? And yeah, look at this. The cup of coffee number 1 and the cup of coffee number 0. So 0 and 1 represent the index of the worker. Right now we executed 2 tests in parallel. You see in the console it says we used 2 workers, and each worker used individual thread. And we pass this index over here. How can you use it? So using this worker index, you can either pull the test account based on the worker index. Let's say you may save the object with the test accounts inside of your project, and based on the index, pull this account to run your test. That way you will avoid concurrency. Or you can use the worker index to, let's say, randomly create a unique account. In my Playwright API testing mastery course, I use this feature to create access token only once per worker. So that way we avoid hitting the auth endpoint for every test, for every API request. And I keep using the same token for the multiple tests, but if the test fails, Playwright will recreate a new worker. This worker will trigger a new token creation, and the new fresh token will be executed then for other tests in the framework. So you can find other examples and use cases how you can use worker scope fixture. And now let's go back to documentation. Right now, after this explanation, when you read through this documentation, after that, it will be not that overwhelming. For example, you can look into automatic fixtures. Automatic fixtures have a similar syntax. Instead of worker fixture, you will put auto true, and that's a fixture that will automatically run for any of your tests, even if you did not call in your test. There are also some of examples how to combine several fixtures together if you save them in different files, and so on. One of the things that I would want you to avoid is don't use fixtures as a page objects. I think this is the use case how fixtures are kind of misused. Use fixtures more for high-level setups of your test, because when you create too many fixtures, like 20 fixtures or 30 fixtures, it becomes hard to manage. So don't make fixtures everything. Use fixtures as a tool to set the right preconditions for your test and stuff that can be highly reusable across the tests. You still can use regular TypeScript functions. You still can use regular TypeScript class with the methods. Don't do everything with fixtures, okay? Don't overuse and over-abuse this stuff. I hope, guys, this was a useful explanation about the fixtures. If you have any comments, write them down below in the description, and put the like and subscribe. I will be happy to see new subscribers on my channel. So see you in the next one.